This video is specifically about beginning improvisation. A lot of people have played for a while, attempted jazz, done a lot of classical, that sort of thing, but when they get into improvising jazz, there's so much, actually. There's way too much you can do. And there's the intimidation factor. There's other people saying, oh yeah, do it this way, do it this way. There's a bunch of people out there saying, you just gotta feel it, you just gotta hear it. Well, I don't really think that good jazz improvisationalists ever start with a blank slate, honestly. I know there's some that do start with a blank slate, but they aren't necessarily good jazz improvisators. So we're gonna start not with a blank slate, but we're gonna start with two different blues scales. And one of them is the A blues scale, and the other one would be the C blues scale. All right, so if you don't know those already, I will take another video and go over those very slowly and in depth and talk a bit about them, but we're gonna just get right into them. So definitely a review. A blues is A, C, D, E flat. You could call it D sharp, either way is okay. E flat, E, G, A. Back down. And it's okay to just do those in both hands if you want to, or you can put a chord underneath. You could put a C chord underneath and then do an A blues. C chord, A blues, yeah, their relative minor is A, relative major is C, so it's a good coupling to start to get to know. A blues. Once again, A, C, D, E flat, E, G, A. I usually call it E flat. Now once you do it as a scale, there's nothing ever says that you have to do it as a scale again, even in your practice. So it's not like classical technique where you might get like, I'm always doing C major that way. I'm always starting on C and ending on C, right? We know how that goes. But I would actually suggest almost never starting on A. You can, but start on another note of the scale. And once you start doing these little improvisated licks off of it, you're improvising. So I like something called the spider crawl. You know, this is instead of going the scale just straight up and down. I like to take 4 notes of it. That's starting on A. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then go down to the next note on the scale, the C. Crawl up 4. Go to the D. Crawl up 4. E flat. Crawl up 4. Go to E. Crawl up 4. Okay, so what that looks like then is as I hope you can already hear, that's way more melodic than just going up and down the scale. You know, the scale is melodic in and of itself, but you know, how many notes can you really keep track of? But the human mind likes to keep track of 3 notes, 4 notes at a time. So in your practice, just go all around within that. You can do 1,000 different permutations of just that. It sounds like I might just be pulling some chords out of nowhere. No, I'm just pulling 2 notes at any given time out of the scale. So, could pull any notes. A lot of times you'll end up hitting perfect fourths just by default because it just fits under the fingers. If you take your 2 and 5 finger, 2, 5, and then you just bring him down on any part of the scale, chances are you'll hit a fourth, perfect fourth. That's a very bluesy sound, probably because a lot of blues players started out as guitar players, you know, or guitar players started out as blues players. So the guitar players love fourths because almost all of the strings are tuned in fourths. And so if you're playing blues on guitar, you can't help but not hit the perfect fourths. So you can practice that with fourths. Do the spider crawl. Fourths is a very powerful sound. So yeah, let's throw that over the C7 chord. And in this case, you can just grab an E and a B flat if you've heard of shell voicings where you just practice the 3rd and 7th. B flat to E, E to B flat, and then you just play that A blues. Okay, move to the 4 chord, which would be F. Now I don't change the scale, I'm just still doing an A blues. And then I go back to the C chord, go to a G chord. And you just practice that over and over again and really get some sounds you like. Get some starting licks, riffs, as we call them. I made a little loop for you so you can hear the whole bass and drums playing with me. It's going to be a typical 12-bar blues, and the sequence we'll talk about probably another time, but you'll hear it as it goes. C7 starts it out. There's the F chord. Still A blues. G chord, F chord, starts over. Here's the C chord. Okay, I'm going to stop it right there because we just went through 2 sequences of the blues chord progression. Now, I'm changing the loop right here at this point, and I'm changing that purposely to what's called a 2-5-1, if you've ever heard of a 2-5-1 in jazz. Basically, we're taking a 2-5-1 in the key of C major, and that would consist of a D minor 7 chord, also known as a D minor 9 chord. We like to add the 9 on top. Okay, you could use the shell voicing as well if you're comfortable with those. You could go root and then just the 3rd and 7th there. That could give you enough of the chord, 7th and 3rd there. Or you can play the whole chord as in like a full like F, A, C, E, and then you got D in the bass. Bass player will take care of it. My computer bass player will take care of that in a minute. And then I'm just going to make a 1-finger movement from this note right here, the C. Everything else stays the same. C moves down a half step to the B. Okay? Bass moves down to the G. That's a full G chord, and it's a really pretty cool, cool jazz chord, rich jazz chord, G913. It's beautiful on the 2-5-1 progression. So you got 2, 5, G913, and then you're going to go to C major 9. And that's going to be an exact parallel voicing with the D minor. So the C major is going to be E, G, B, D. So it's like an E minor chord with a 7 on top with a D, C in the bass. So C major 9. Okay, here's the full chords. D minor, 9, G913, and then C major. Okay, so that's a C major 2-5-1. what scale do we put on it? You can put a few different scales on it, but what are we going to put on it? A blues. We've already practiced the A blues. And why not apply it somewhere else? If we get good at it in one spot, apply it in a different spot. So in this case, it fits really well over the D minor 9, G9 13, C major 9. It's only one scale. Sounds good over everything, all three chords, and it'll have just different qualities over different chords. But the reason it sounds so good is because A minor, which A blues is a minor scale, right? So A blues is a minor scale, A minor blues. Some people call it A minor blues. I just call it A blues. It's relative to C major. It carries a lot of the same notes. It's A, C, D, E, G, right? That could also, that's an A minor pentatonic. That could also be a C major pentatonic. We're just leaving out the F and the B right there. So, but then to get the blues, we add back in that E flat. Very cool note. Now, and it all goes over 2-5-1. D minor, G, C major. So here it is with just the chord. Won't have a bass. Okay, this isn't the only thing you can do against those three chords, but it's a very cool thing to do against those three chords. So if you don't know how to do it already, learn how to do that on these chords. D minor, G, C major 7, and you want to put an A blues over the top of it. Now let's hear what it sounds like with the loop. You come back here, you're going to immediately hear that D minor, and I'm going to go only A blues as an improvisation subject. Oops, sorry. Here we go again. Stop right there. So I call that marrying. You marry the certain scale against a certain chord progression, especially if you're looking at it. Some people like to do stuff from memory, but when you're just learning this, I would actually put them on paper and put them in front of you so that every time you see that D minor 9 chord, D minor 7 chord, and you think A blues while looking at it, that's a very good thing to do. If you see that G9 13 and you also think A blues as a thing to play, that's a very good thing as well. And then C major 9 or C major 7, either way, that A blues works perfectly over that relative minor blues over that. That would be the first thing I would start on a 2-5-1 if I didn't know anything about improvisation. And then get some sounds you like. That's where your ear comes in. That's where your practice comes in, is you want to search for sounds that you like. Now, we're going to go back to that C blues progression. We're going to put another scale over it. For right now, we're finished with the A blues, but we'll get back to it. The other scale that we're going to put over that same C blues progression is the C blues. So the C blues is going to be this. It's an exact transposition of the A blues. It's just moving up to C. So C, E flat, F, F sharp, G, B flat, C. Okay, good. So now do it both hands if you want. C, E flat, F, F sharp, G, B flat, C. Now same story. Don't necessarily do it the same way every time. You don't have to start with C and end on C. Do riffs out of it, do licks out of it, make it sound like improv. So you got C7, hit that chord underneath, C, E, B flats, just a shell voicing, and then play around with the C blues scale. Because this is what's called parallel minor, C blues is a C minor scale to some extent, but you're playing it over a C7 chord, which is a C major chord, okay, with a 7th in it, a dominant 7th sound, but it's still minor over major. It's parallel minor over C major. So because you're doing that, it's going to actually have a dirtier, grittier sound to it. The A blues over the C had a very clean sound. The C blues over the C has this dirty, gritty sound. I suggest you get really good at that one too. Get really good at A blues by itself, and then get really good at C blues by itself. So same type of thing. You'll find your fourths. There's a spider crawl. You can change the chord to the F7, which is the next chord in the blues. Back to the C, here's the G7. Okay, very cool sound, very, very cool sound over the C blues progression. So now you can probably guess where I'm going with this. We actually have two scales that will work over the C blues chord progression. We have the C blues and we have the A blues. I'd like you to still keep them separate if you're brand new to improvisation, but we're going to roll the loop and let it roll for 2 times. So it's going to go 2 times through. The first chorus through over the C blues progression, C 12-bar blues progression. I'm going to play exclusively C blues licks, C blues riffs. And then the second time over the same progression, chords don't change. It's still in C7, but I'm going to go to the A blues sound. And you're going to hear the change that will then come on. And you'll hear the dirty, gritty at first, and then you'll hear kind of this more clean sound, but it still retains that sound of the blues. So let's hear how that's going to go. Again, chord progression is C7, F7, G7. You'll have to listen for those changes if you don't know a 12-bar blues. And then first time through is C blues, second time through is A blues exclusively. Here we go. Here's A blues. Now here's the 2-5-1. C major, still A blues. Stop it there. So now you can see I've got 2 cool sounds on the blues itself, and I've got a really cool sound, bluesy sound over a 2-5-1. As a tidbit, if you don't already know this, you can play the full C major scale over the C major 2-5-1 as well. That's fair game. I think everybody kind of knows that, but if it's a 2, D minor, 5, G, and C major, it's kind of obvious. You're in the key of C, so if you've taken any kind of music, you go, okay, well, key of C, those 3 chords come from the key of C, I can use key of C. But how do I sound more jazzy? Throw in some blues. And you can go back and forth, do both, because you're going to get a lot of melody from the C major. There's nothing wrong with the major. You can play major all day long and sound good on a 2-5-1 in C major. But then throw in that blues and it really has that tasty sound like you just heard. Okay, I'm going to throw in a little curveball here. We know 2 blues now, right? We know the A blues pretty well because we've been working on those. That scale, and then we know the C blues, and the C blues and the A blues can both work over the C blues chord progression. The A blues works over a C major 2-5-1, D minor, G, C major, because of that relative minor connection. So now we ask ourselves, okay, if I know A blues, got that over C major, and I've got C blues, that would be the relative minor. What is C minor, what is the relative major of C minor? And you figure it out and go, well, C is the 6th scale degree of the relative major, so I can go up to an E flat. And yes, the answer is you've already played the C blues, so why not go through a E flat 2-5-1? Since it has the same relationship from C to A minor is E flat to C minor. So you go minor 2 is F minor, and then B flat, and then E flat major. Okay, F minor, here's your chord voicing. We'll talk about that in another session more specifically, but A flat, C, E flat, G, or you could just do the shell. Okay, and then B flat, just the shell. A flat, D would work, D, A flat would work, and then E flat shell would be G, D, 3rd and 7th is your shell, right? But I like using the full chord. I like the sound of it. So if you know those, a lot of people call those the A and B voicings. You can do that. So 2, 5, 1, F minor, B flat, E flat major. So now that's your 2-5-1 while you're playing the C blues. I put it in the loop right here. We're going to run it. So this will be C blues. The 2-5-1 is E flat major. E flat major, C minor. C minor, E flat major. Think about the relative position of that. Here it is. The blues I'm playing is C blues. Okay, so that's the end of my loop, and so that's what I'm actually going to do now, is I'm going to go back and I'm going to play the C blues for those 2 sets of 12-bar blues. This time I'm going to actually kind of be a little indiscriminate about which blues I'm going to play. Before we said A blues only for this section, or C blues only for this section. You know, 12 bars, we got to do C blues. 12 bars, we got to do A blues. Well, the truth is you can do both, and you can come in and out of it as much as you want. It's very fun to do that, and you're going to get dirty gritty, C blues, dirty gritty, and then you're going to get clean, tasty, bluesy, clean, tasty whenever you add the A blues over it. So I'm going to go back and forth. I'll call it out when I do it, because just in case you're not used to hearing those 2 sounds. When I go to we change to the 2-5-1, the first one's in C major, so I'm going to be playing exclusively A blues. And then when we get to the 2-5-1 in E flat major, I'm going to be playing exclusively C blues, and that's it. And then we'll wrap up the form and we'll wrap up this video. All right, here we go. C blues, going back and forth between A blues and C blues as a soloing idea. C blues, A blues, still A blues, C blues, A blues, C blues, can you tell which one? A blues, C blues, A blues, C blues, A blues. Now here's the 2-5-1. Now throw some C major. Back to A blues. C major. There's the blues again. C major. Here's my transition to F minor, key of E flat. So now I must be in the C blues. Or E flat major. I did up C blues and down E flat. Here's down E flat, up C blues, down at E flat. Okay, so now this relationship with the blues being relative minor of the 2-5-1 of the whatever key you're in, that can happen over every single time you see a 2-5-1. So we've gone through 2 keys of 2-5-1s. There's 12 different keys of 2-5-1s. Those 2-5-1s are extremely common in jazz music. So that is a super, super, super one to learn in all your keys. Now, let me give you a little tidbit that'll get you a little fast forward on your learning though. You don't have to learn every key to start jazz. We just sounded really good like a jazz player just doing 2 keys, right? But realistically, just about every key, every jazz tune that you go to, unless it's a modal tune, different kind of thing, but if it's a standard, it's probably going to go through at least 3 to 5 different keys, all right? So the best thing to do is go find a tune you like, and then go look at it and see if you can pinpoint those 2-5-1s, and then those are the first blues scales that you learn. Don't waste your time learning all 12 keys, because that could take you a year to do. All the blues and all the majors and everything and all the chord voicings, but it might take you, you know, a month, 2 months, 3 months, and you could have a couple nice tunes under your belt, especially if you run through songs in the same keys. So if you look at certain keys that are a little bit more useful to jazz, because there's a lot of horn players, a lot of times we like to play more in flat keys than we do if we're playing with guitarists. So good keys to learn is key of B flat, key of F, key of A flat, key of E flat. So if you just go with those first 4 starting out, or we did C, you know, C we already kind of learned, but if you want more keys to build on this, go through key of C, key of B flat, key of A flat, key of F and key of E flat, and start out with those and learn those 2 5-1s. Of course, if you have a favorite tune that diverges outside of those different keys, then you're going to have to bite that off as you go. But hopefully that gets you a good start, and you can start interacting with these different chord progressions. So great to see you. Hopefully you subscribe to all my socials, and I'll see you next time. Have some more videos like this. Have fun.